Let's now talk about various kinds of presuppositions in pragmatics. In the analysis of how various assumptions of the speakers have been analyzed or could possibly be analyzed, we have come to the conclusion that these assumptions or presuppositions are usually conveyed by the use of various kinds of linguistic items. And when we use these linguistic items, they generally convey some potential presupposition. And if we analyze the context of the speaker, these potential presuppositions may become the actual or real presuppositions. So we could summarize that presuppositions in generally or linguistically speaking are conveyed by the use of certain lexical items or words. And we could divide that use of words into various categories of presuppositions. We'll start with existential presupposition. Existential presupposition, and this we assume the existence of certain entities. And this is found generally in noun phrases and in possessive cases. For example, in noun phrase, we can see a statement here: the car was broken, and we can see that here we can see that there is a certain car which exists, and that car was broken. So it shows the existence of a car here. Then in possessive constructions like Tom's car is new, we can presuppose that Tom exists and he has a car. So the both Tom and car's existence has been stipulated, assumed in such statements. Moving forward to factive presupposition. In such presupposition, we assume that something is true due to the presence of certain words like know, realize, glad, regret, etc. If we look at the following statements in front of you, she didn't realize he was ill. So the statement after realize he was ill is being assumed here. The assumption is that he was ill. When we say she did not realize he was ill, so the assumption is he was actually ill. We regret telling him. So we have actually told him. So the assumption is of factive nature. In contrast, we do have assumptions of non-factive nature also. And it refers to something which is untrue. And it is also indicated by the use of certain words. For example, when we use words like dream, imagine, and pretend. So we can assume that whatever follows these words would be untrue or wrong. For example, I dreamed that I was rich. So I am actually, or I was not rich, but I just dreamed it. So this seems untrue here. We do have lexical presuppositions when using a one word, a speaker might convey another additional meaning or assumption also. For example, when we say she has stopped running, so that also imply or convey or it may be assumed that or the speaker has assumed that she used to run. So the meaning of used to run has been assumed here when we say she has stopped running. So such assumptions do include some unstated concept. We do have a structural presupposition where the construction of or the nature of the construction of certain sentences do convey a certain meanings. For example, we have WH questions. And in such constructions, we can see that the listener perceives that the information presented is necessarily true. For example, when we say, when did she travel to USA? So the assumption is she actually traveled to USA. So whatever is mentioned in such statements would be assumed to be true. We have counterfactual presuppositions also. It is an assumption about what is presupposed is not only untrue but is in fact contrary to the fact. And it usually happen in case of if clauses, when we usually show our desires or something which is not possible or has not happened. For example, if I say I wish I, or if only if I were a king. So in I am not a king, or I was not a king. But in such situations, and this is quite contrary to the reality. So this is counterfactual presuppositions. For example, if let's see another example. If I say, if you were my daughter, I wouldn't allow you to do this. If you were my daughter, so you are actually not my daughter. So whatever is assumed in these statements is actually counterfactual, and based on this we call such assumptions as counterfactual presuppositions.